Hello again, my dudes, welcome back to the channel. This is Kadima bringing you another Elden Ring build video. This time we are not going to be using anything from the DLC except for the armor, but we are here to talk about the recent patch buffing one of the best weapons in the game. So this weapon, when the first game was released, it was quite strong, and then it got nerfed, and now it got patched, and the patch benefited this weapon quite a lot. Of course, I'm talking about the Cleanrot Knight Sword. In this case, we are going to be infusing it with heavy. Just a quick one, as you can see by the description of the sword, I'm using repeating thrust on it for the Ash of War, giving me the strength scaly, which makes the sword scale B with strength. Attributes required is strength at 11 and dexterity at 13. However, I have only used the repeating thrust for PvE. If you are going to use this sword for PvP, like I recommend that you do change the Ash of War to the best Ash of War for PvP, that being the Bloodhound Step. When you put the Bloodhound Step on this thing, you can just quickly... First you got it two-handed actually. Let's put it two-handed. You can just use this and then poke R1. So poke R1, use poke R1, poke R1. This is probably the fastest attack in the game. You will get the invulnerability frames of the quick step, and this attack comes out so quickly that you're just going to do a tremendous amount of damage in quick succession. You can kill all your enemies in the arena or during invasions quite quickly. However, as you are about to see, that's not how I was using it myself. The reason being, because this was such a strong setup, I wanted to give myself a bit of a challenge. So instead, I went with Parry. That's right. I went with Parry, and that's how I was using the weapon. So, I wanted to challenge myself not only to be able to parry people with the rapier, which is not easy. They got one of the worst possible parrying frames, but the weapon itself is so good that you don't really need an Ash of War to be successful with this weapon. However, as I was showing at the beginning of the video, thrusting swords for PvE, for PvP, Bloodhound Step. But let's take a look at the rest of the build. I'm using the Verdigris complete set because I want to be extremely tanky and has as much poison, as much poise and as much defenses as I can. And as you can see, I've got upwards of 30,000 defenses and damage negation. For the talismans, I'm using Spear Talisman. This is a must-have because it gives us an extra 30% on thrusting weapon hits when counter-attacking. Two-handed sword talisman. This is also a must-have because we'll be two-handing the sword at all time, and this gives the weapon itself 556 attack rate. Bull Goat's talisman because, as I said, I want to be an absolute tank and be able to trade hits, and this gives me 133 poise. And then the Great Char arsenal because, as I said, we're going to be heavy and we want to make sure we have medium load. For buffs, I recommend having the Dragon Bolt Grease or the Magic, the Royal Magic Grease if you prefer. I prefer to watch the sword have some lightning around it more than I like it to turn just blue. So this is a matter of aesthetics for me. Exalted Flesh for the other buff. If you're playing PvE, as I said, Flask of Wondrous Physique, you want to go with Leaden Tear, which temporarily boosts poise even further so you can get interrupted and you can just absolutely spam the thrusting sword. And Thorny Crag Tear, which temporarily boosts successive attacks, which you will have procced with the thrusting sword. Uplifting Aromatic, the good old spice if you're using your Mimic, it's also a good thing to have. Now, as you just saw, the attack rate is 556, but when you use both buffs, so the Dragon Bolt Grease and the Exalted Flesh, and when you're two-handing this weapon, it goes up to 788. So a weapon with 788 that attacks this quickly, as you can imagine, it's quite nasty. Another thing to keep in mind is the running R2 will stun anything. This will block any attack and anything that comes in your way. The running R1 not so much if you're opponents are using, for example, Rakshasa's Great Katana, this will not interrupt them, the running R1, but if you use the running R2, they are going to get interrupted unless they have an extreme amount of poise. And that's pretty much the build when it comes to the equipment. Let's take a look at the stats quickly. Level 151, 60 vigor, mind at 10, 42 endurance, strength at 80, dexterity at 13, and intelligence, faith, and arcane don't really matter here unless you want to use some spells to boost your build. This is pretty much the build in a nutshell, guys. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It does help the channel along the way. For my regular viewers, thank you so much for the continuous support. But enough said, let's go for those sweet examples. Starting, of course, with the Black Knight, we're gonna go with the Old Spice buff, some lightning on the sword, exalted flesh, and get that flask ready for me and the Mimic to trash this guy. I want you to keep in mind that I'm basically just going to spam the Ash of War. As you can see, this thing stuns this guy, he doesn't even have a chance to move, and he's already dead. GG. Now for the Blood Fiend, as per usual, of course, the Mimic still requires some counseling and therapy because he still doesn't realize that his job here is just to distract the boss long enough for me to buff in peace. That's it. But no, he decides that he doesn't want to partake, and he just wastes my time. And in consequence, I am wasting your time with this bit of footage because the Mimic still hasn't woken up. Look at him just there in the corner being an idiot. I finally managed to get a little bit of the buffs, however I am still on my own because only now the Mimic realized that he wants some lightning on his sword. Ah, there he goes. Thank you for showing up. And here we are, just a running R2, and then unfortunately I get interrupted here, but I'm just gonna spam the Ash of War, the thrusting swords, and then just get rid of it. GG. But now let's talk about the best and most the funniest part of this build video, which is how much this weapon shines in PvP. I'm not going to state that this is the best weapon in Elden Ring, but after the patch, this is definitely a top tier weapon for PvP, especially in the arena. Look at that, 2 hits, 900 and something damage, very quick attacks. This guy was not even knowing what to do. Basically, the moment he got hit twice, I think he just ran out of ideas. You can also tell the connection is terrible. You can see the lag, you can see the latency. He's kind of stuttering on my screen, but you know what, I like to play a very high risk high reward kind of game, and I thought, you know what, I can parry this guy, and so I did. Boom, there you go, brother. That is a proper parry reaction. GG. Now let's go for the second example. This guy, I don't know, I messaged him by the end of the duel because I had a feeling he was just new to the whole thing. All he did the entire time was this and Ash of War. I want you to take notice, he doesn't really do anything else other than the spell and Ash of War. Look, there you go, Ash of War. Now he's gonna roll back and Ash of War. So I kind of gave him a couple of tips. Hopefully he will succeed in his future duels. But now for the next example, I fought this guy quite a few times. I won some, I lost some. The connection wasn't terrible, but you can see there is a bit of lag still, and it's impacting our ability to trade. For example, that one, he did poke me, but I managed to continue running. But then there's an instant in a different round where we were trading hits, and he was hitting me and I wasn't hitting him for some reason. But in any case, he's using the quick step as I suggested you guys do. However, what you have to keep in mind is that it's very easy to parry that. GG, brother. GG. Now for the next example, I fought this guy many times, as you probably see him in quite a few of my build videos. He's a nice chap. He's coming with the backhand, and doesn't surprise me. The backhand, even after all the nerfing to the swift slash, the weapon itself is still very good. The blind spot is still great, despite not giving those tremendous iframes anymore, but it was a good fight nonetheless. Now this one, of course, he's going to attack me while I buff. It's okay, I accept that. If that's how you want to roll, that's how you want to roll. He's using a great katana. Unfortunately, I could tell there was a little bit of lag on my end. As you can see, I'm trying to punish him when he rolls away from me, and nothing is connecting. And then that one there should have been at least a trade, and it wasn't. I just got hit. So latency, unfortunately, is what it is in Elden Ring. I would say latency is what makes parrying in Elden Ring be so unreliable. But it is what it is. Still managed quite a few good fights, and the new speed of the Rakshasa Great Katana Ash of War is just insane, as you can see in this example. Now on to the next duel. I mean, you guys can tell for yourself that this sword does quite a lot of damage, and you are about to see that right now. So this guy is casting all these spells, going through all this much effort, and casting and casting and casting, and then he's chasing me a little bit because he's trying to push me to the fog. But then when my turn comes, as you can see, I attacked him twice and he nearly died with just 2 hits. And keep in mind that when I did hit him there, the Exalted Flesh had most likely ran off already. But hey ho, here we go, GG. On to the next fight. Again, keep in mind we are using this weapon with the parry. You guys don't have to. You should probably use the Bloodhound Quick Step. But look at this guy. I mean, you're still playing like this in 2024, just rivers of blood? That doesn't work anymore, buddy. So I decided not to wait anymore, and 2 hits, and I won. That guy had literally no HP. Now, again, this guy, all good. We are both buffing, at least during this round. I am sorry to say that he didn't act like that in the following rounds. I guess he got salty for losing all the time. But here we go. Got a couple of hits there. As you can see, this weapon does a tremendous amount of damage. Even though he has a lot of poise and a lot of damage mitigation, I'm still doing big chunks of damage with simple R1s and R2s. Now for this duel, again, there was a little bit of lag on this one. But nothing that we can't manage. We got a little bit of the trade there, 570 damage, but keep in mind he's using Rakshasa's set, so he's bound to take more damage, of course. We are staying offensive, a nice running R2, 500 and something damage. Trying to keep the pressure. I'm trying to see if he goes for a running attack so I can parry, but he's not falling for it. Unfortunately, so I just thought, well, if he's not going to give me something I can parry, I'll just finish the fight. GG. Now, this mage is even funnier than the other guy with the rivers of blood, because this guy had literally no HP. Look, I'm already doing damage with the pot, but then I get close, and 1 and 2. GG. 2 hits for the win. Now this guy, of course, he's going to attack me while I buff. A lot of people just don't like me buffing for whatever reason. Maybe it offends them. Still, I'm going to do a tremendous amount of damage as well right there. Had pretty much half his HP is gone, and you can tell he's got a lot of defenses, a lot of armor, a lot of HP, but that's not going to save him from the rapier that I've got in my hands. GG. Now, next fight. We got quite a few more coming. I decided to chuck that away because he was clearly not finished with his bow. But there we go, ready to roll. This guy, unfortunately, this was a very long fight. And the reason why this was a long fight was because of how he was playing. Look at what he's doing. Ash of War, R1. And then again, Ash of War, R1. And what is he gonna do next? You got it right. Ash of War. And again, Ash of War. And maybe you haven't understood yet, but he's going to show you. Yeah, here we go. It's time for R1. He actually did something other, but not for long. As you are about to see, by this time I'm not even trying to get to kill him. I'm just waiting for the perfect opportunity to teach him a lesson. And the lesson here is, don't just spam the same thing the whole time, bro, please. As you saw, I was just standing there. I could have attacked and finished him off at any point in time, but I thought, you know what? If this guy is just gonna continue to do this, I'm gonna just parry him. So I was waiting for the perfect opportunity to parry him. So the opportunity finally presented himself when I noticed he was starting to roll attack. As you can see, roll attack, and then he did it again, and I thought, oh, okay, roll attack. Great, do it again. GG. Thank you for the free parry. GG, brother. Now, for the next example, again, don't forget to buff the weapon with the lightning and consume the exalted flesh. Unfortunately, this guy had absolutely no HP. Look at how much HP this guy has. 790. I actually missed the first attack, but when I finally hit, guess what happens? One hit is all it takes. GG. 799 HP in the arena. I would not recommend that. In any case, here we go. Another example. Another Rakshasa Great Katana. You see a lot of people using it these days in the arena. It's absolutely meta material. And people just find it funny and useful, especially because of this Ash of War. As you saw, even my running R2 did not break the Ash of War, but in any case, I traded enough hits to then get a nice little parry for the win. But now, let's go for the last PvP example, guys, and the end of the build video. The point with this build is not to bring you anything new. As you probably are aware, this weapon was broken before, and then it got nerfed, and now it got patched again, so it's again very useful, very strong. I always loved this weapon back from the good old days, and I decided to finally make a build video with it, but with my own personal touch of the parry. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. If you're one of the regular viewers, of course, I thank you for your continuous support, and I hope I'll see you in the next build video. You guys take care and have a good one. Cheerio!